G'day there and welcome to Garden Clinic TV. Now before I get on to my segment, I just want to thank all those that have joined us recently and subscribed to our channel. Now so many people are liking it, that means you want more, and that's what we're going to do, give you a lot more ideas and suggestions so that you can keep gardening and enjoy it even more. Today I've got quite a different sort of story to tell you. Now this is I think maybe a 1960s house. It's in the middle of a big renovation, but interestingly they've decided to renovate the front garden first. Now it was a pretty disparate sort of area here, but they've come up with a really beautiful solution. Lovely sandstone walling, beautiful brick steps. They've already planted quite some time ago, which is very sensible early on, to get in their Buxus hedge. Now it's already 1.5 metres tall, so they're starting to get some privacy already. And then they've put in garden beds, and they've even planted some Morea here a couple of months ago, and they're just producing some lovely perfume and lovely flowers for the front of the garden. And then a brand new zoysia lawn. So the whole thing is looking pretty schmick. But there's one thing that they really wanted, and that was a feature tree. Now the problem is there's no soil under here. It's solid rock, and there's a 4 or 5 metre drop just behind this wall next to the house. So they had to create their own garden bed, but they wanted a feature tree in a feature location. So they've gone for one of these Shapescaper Corten steel circular garden beds. Now the whole garden is actually surrounded. You can hardly see it, it's so discreet. The Shapescaper Corten steel garden edging. They produce a lot of different products, and I love this Corten steel. I've used it in a lot of gardens and my own home as well. And it has that lovely patina when it rusts and get that lovely colour. They've gone for an interesting plant, but I've got just under a cubic metre hole here to fill in this raised garden bed. So how do we go about it, and what plant did they choose? Now this is what they've chosen. They've waited many months to get the right shape. It's actually a rescued Frangipani. So in one of those houses being demolished for high rise, the nurserymen have gone in, secured the plant, potted it up and grown it on, and it's now putting on beautiful growth and just the end of the season's flowers. It's not a spectacular flower, it's just the regular white and yellow, but it does have that beautiful perfume. But it was the shape the owners were after, that nice sort of branching shape, multi-branches. In fact, there's about a dozen branches there, all with new growth on it. So this beautiful rescued Frangipani is going to be the feature plant. Now, I've got quite a lot of hole here, nearly a cubic metre of soil to fill in. Now, Frangipanis really love good drainage, so I've actually gone for a cacti and succulent mix. We'll be putting that a little bit lower down so that the root system never gets boggy. I've also got some chock-a-block that I'm going to add because it's got lots of nutrition that we can build right into the soil mix right from the very beginning. And chock-a-block is just a national phenomenon at the moment, and I understand why, because people have smaller gardens and they don't have their compost bins. So you can actually buy the chock-a-block. It's in a big yellow bag, and you can get that at the hardware and the garden centres, and that's to save you actually making your own compost. And it's got so much nutrition. And then some cow manure, so I'm adding a little bit of extra cow manure. I want this plant to really sing over the next couple of months as it goes into winter and then comes out in spring and summer in beautiful new growth. And then finally, most of it will be a top quality potting mix, the best quality mix you can afford. Remember, if it's got black ticks, it's okay. If it has no ticks, it's rubbish. If it has red ticks, as you can see on this premium bag here, we know it's going to adhere to the Australian standards. Okay, now I've got a big hole to fill. First thing, pair of gloves. Always, with any bag mix, you need the gloves. Well, that Frangipani is not only big, it's also heavy, so I need a bit of help. Thank you, KB. If we can sit it just here. The other thing you'll notice that this is the front. When you go into the nursery buying super advanced plants, you'll notice that there is a front and a back. I've mentioned before when we were tree planting that occasionally, if they're in bags, they'll have a north sign. And that means the plant's been facing north in the nursery for a long time. And it's worth remembering to keep it to that north spot. This plant doesn't have a north because it's been in one of these big, large pots, but we're looking for the front of the plant, and that's definitely it. When you look at the other side, it's definitely the back side. So let's go for the, I'll need my mate again. Okay. There we go. Oh, beautiful root system. Okay. We can drop that in the hole. Turn it to you clockwise. Oh, awesome. Thank you, sir, and a pot for your services. Okay. This has a beautiful root system, top quality nursery plant. Look at those roots there, but I'm just going to give them a bit of a tickle up because I want them to grow out into the surrounding good potting mix and the cactus mix that we're going to put in. You see how that just sort of roughed up? That means those roots, instead of going round and round and round the circle, they'll actually grow out into the potting mix. Always do that. Doesn't matter whether it's a 20 centimetre pot or a 30 centimetre pot or a littly. Always, if there's a good root system, then tickle those roots up so they can really get going. Now, oh, by the way, if you're wondering what this is here, this is a power cable that they've got coming in underneath the pot. It'll come up the side of the tree and the lights will go right through the plant. Christmas time, party time, it'll look really good once it's established. But you've got to put the cable in first, so don't forget, you can't put it in later. Okay, let's add the rest of the mix. Okay, now around those roots I'm going to use the cactus and succulent mix because it's got that extra sandy, really good drainage, and that's what I want around the root system. Now that's just going to help with the establishment of a new root system. Once that's out there, it'll need the nutrition and the quality of a good potting mix. So that's what we'll finish off with. Now you'll notice that we've kept the level of the pot pretty much level inside the container. So here's the original root system, just sitting there. I'll cover that over with just a few centimetres of potting mix. We can mulch it later on. But I just want a little bit of potting mix over there. And look at this, perfect, absolute perfect. Now remember, your potting mix, when you start to water it, will always condense to get the air out. There's a lot of air in there, which we want some, but not all of it. The potting mix is actually designed to produce some good air, but we don't want too much of it in there. You'll notice I've not added any fertiliser in our whole process. There is some slow release fertiliser in the potting mix, so that's going to be enough just to feed it over the next couple of months. But what I have done is put some Seamungus liquid in this watering can, and it won't be enough to actually settle the whole thing down, but it will get it going, and then it'll need a good thorough watering with a hose later on. Now, if you're not terribly fussed about exotic Frangipanis, maybe you might like to put in maybe a crepe myrtle. Now the crepe myrtles are also deciduous, but the range of colours, sizes are just fabulous today. Now you can get them, remember there are spillover crepe myrtles now. Then there are others that grow to about knee high, shoulder high, and up to about 4 or 5 metres. All of them would look fantastic in this big tub, in this big pot. Alternatively, you might want to go maybe for a native plant. Banksias would be beautiful, especially old man Banksia in this sort of bushland setting. I know these are exotics, but there's a lot of native gums around this whole landscape. Maybe Banksia ericofolia, those great big orange cone of flowers. They attract the bees, the birds, and they look fabulous. But my selection in the native plant category would be a native Frangipani, evergreen, yellow, beautiful perfume flowers, and a lovely column that will just go up, and the roots will fill that pot and go down deep in amongst the rock crevices and last for a very long time. So there's lots of selections. Now when you go into your local garden centre, don't go in unarmed. Have some idea what you might be looking for. Do your research, and that will really give you some idea of what you're looking for. They'll have other suggestions at the garden centre. There's qualified staff there will be able to tell you what they've got and what they might be able to get in for you. So it's a really fabulous idea. Shapescaper, these Corten steel planters are just brilliant if you've got no soil or very little soil or gravelly soil underneath here. The steps that we showed you right at the beginning indicate that this is a very steep block. They've levelled out this deck here, and this is going to be a super feature tree. I hope you enjoyed this segment. It's a little bit different to the normal ones. If you do, don't forget to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And whatever you do, please go safely.